So hello and welcome to the resume rooms for today's Career Cafe event. My name is Jennifer Wellborn. I am part of the student life team, and I'll be your moderator today in the resume room. And I'm sure Renee mentioned this already to you, but we are doing the Creative Cup contest. So if you have any sort of cup, mug, vessel for drinking liquids that you want to enter into that, just let me know so I can make sure to grab a good screenshot of you at some point before you leave the room. But we are joined by a couple of volunteers today to actually go through the information on resumes. So I am going to go ahead and turn it over to them, and I totally forgot who's doing the first slide, so I apologize.
Hi, I am Helena Warren. I work for the college. I'm actually in the Human Resources Department. I'm one of the business partners so my title is, this is one of the fun things about, I think, a lot of our areas here at Pima. It's long and I will explain what it means. So I am a business partner over talent and communications, which basically means I am in recruitment and communications to make sure that everyone knows that Pima is an awesome place to work. So I'm really excited to be here today and work with you all on how to write a good resume. This is what I like doing. So do we want to just launch right into it, or let Allison introduce herself? Allison, introduce yourself.
I can introduce myself. My name is Allison. I use she, her pronouns, and I am a student life coordinator here at Pima, based out of the downtown campus. And I am excited to talk about resumes today.
Sweet. All right. So let's jump right into the type of content you want to have on your resume. And see, Royalston, if you want to jump in and ask any questions, please feel free. Happy to answer any questions that you might have. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that your name is big and bold. You want everyone to know who this resume belongs to. So big and bold with your contact information, your city, state, phone number, email address, because your future and all the prospective employers who want to interview you need to know how to get a hold of you. So phone number, email address. And one of the recommendations that I have for email addresses, and that we all have really for email addresses, make sure you have a professional sounding email address. So things that are borderline or even that look inappropriate, or something like Stargirl, insert inappropriate number after things there. Don't do that. Gmail addresses are free. Yahoo email addresses are free. Literally any website, any server, like email server, is free. Go out, create a new email address just for your professional self so that it looks professional and clean on your resume. Do yourself a favor, please have a professional email address. Next, this part's optional, but you can have a professional summary. This is also known as that objective place. This is kind of going out. It's a little bit out of style on your resume. You can choose to have it, but if you want, you can have that section at the top, that professional summary that is, that elevator pitch as to who you are. It's that, like it says here, that 30-second commercial. Don't make it so long that it takes 30 seconds to read it. Have it just be this short and simple bit about who you are and why you're the most qualified person for this role. Sell yourself. Have it be almost that condensed version of your cover letter, which there's another section here that will talk about cover letters. So you can pop on over and visit those guys and gals and individuals who can help you write a good cover letter. Next, you want to talk about your employment history. Make sure it's in chronological order. I can't tell you how many resumes that I've seen that have gone from 2014 to 1999 and then back to 2005, and it's confusing. Make sure it's in chronological order. You want to make sure that whatever recruiter or system or whoever is reviewing your resume, make it as easy as possible for them to track with. Chronological order, your most recent and current job on top, and then go in chronological order from there. If you have a long job history, list jobs within the last 5 years with the most relevant position that you're positions that you're applying for. Any education that you have, list in descending order with the most advanced degree on top. So let's say you have a bachelor's degree, list your bachelor's degree and then your associate's degree. Or if you have your associate's degree, or you have a couple of associate's degrees, list your associate's degree, list your high school diploma or GED, and then go down from there. Include the degree type, the school, your graduation date. If you have not obtained your degree yet, then write anticipated date or anticipated graduation, and then write the year that your anticipated graduation. So let's say you're almost done with your program and you're planning on graduating in December. So anticipated graduation, December 2021. Good to go. List any volunteer experience, activities, awards, any achievements. Employers love to see what other activities that you're involved in. And honestly, that type of experience also speaks to what the additional skills and qualifications that you have as a candidate, and also what more that you can take on as a potential employee. So list that on your resume as well. So identify those accomplishments and your leadership and volunteer activities. Any other experience and skills. So if you're fluent with any languages or technologies, list those as well. So technologies such as, let's say you are an expert with, Adobe, I don't know, why am I blanking? Let's say you're a photographer and you can Photoshop. That's what I'm thinking of. Let's say you can edit photos like nobody's business. Then list that. Make sure that you're putting any other specialty skills that you have on your resume as well in that other experience and skills section. So let's talk a little bit about the format of your resume, and I'll turn it over to my girl, Allison, and she'll talk a little bit about what the do's and don'ts are when you're looking at formatting your resume.
Thanks so much, Helena. So let's start with the do's. What should you do? Using 2 to 3 bullets per position to concisely explain your experience. So you can see this example. Some of them have more, depending on the length of your employment, I would say, and Helena, please, jump in, but keeping 2 to 3 and trying to concisely explain, we don't want paragraphs under there, really trying to be as efficient with your words as possible. And then we want to use action verbs and industry specific language. So I would say all of the beginning, words of those bullet points should have a verb. And there's really great lists online if you just Google resume action verbs that you can use, so that way you don't have the same one over and over. So making sure that you get a good vocabulary in there as well. And I think this one's really important too. So quantifying your experience. If you can add in the number, even if you don't know exactly, give it a ballpark number. People love to see that to give more context about if you just say, for example, on this one, handle sales transactions. Maybe you only did $10 a day and we don't know that, or you were doing $100,000. So like that's a really big difference. So if you're able to quantify that, that can really help contextualize what you're talking about. And then identifying transferable skills from your experience. Maybe the job that you're applying for is not something that you've necessarily done before. Trying to highlight skills from previous roles that could apply is really important, because we're not always going to have done exactly what we're applying for. And then also including keywords from the job description. I feel like this is really important, as a lot of times this is becoming an automated step. Not every place, but some places do have those like automated resume reviewers before actual humans see it. And so if you're able to match some of the words and keywords of the job description, that can be really helpful. And it shows, go ahead, Helena.
Oh, sorry, Allison. Like, what I was gonna say is, usually what I do anytime I'm helping somebody write a resume is I'll sit with them and with their resume, with the job description, and I'll say, okay, let's highlight all of those anything that has those action verbs in the job description, so that we can see what is it that they're looking for. And then let's look at your experience and how can we incorporate your experience and put that in your job, in your resume, so that if a recruiter's looking at it, or if there's an automated system looking at it, it's automatically going to pick up on those words. So just know that a resume is not always going to be a one size fits all. I know it's a little bit more work, but you're going to have to custom tailor each resume you submit to each position that you're applying for. You can have kind of a skeleton, if you will, for all of the positions that you're applying for, but know that you're going to have to customize each resume for each position you're applying for. But it's always a good idea. I'm much more of a tactile person. I like printing and highlighting, but be prepared to highlight, whether that's on a tablet or on your screen, or if you like to just print and highlight those keywords so that you can put them in your resume. Like Allison, like everything Allison was saying, like snaps to that, like absolutely.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's a really great point. And I think that too, if there is a human rating, I know I mostly review student applications, but still, if I see that they included words from the job description, it shows me that they actually read it and they're not just like sending it to whoever. And I think that like that sounds really simple, but it goes a long way to show that you are reading it, you're demonstrating that why you're a good fit for this particular job. So those are some of our do's. Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask before we go to the don'ts? Okay. Oh, Justin.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
So I guess with like the honors and awards and stuff like that. So I was ServSafe certified. It's just like a food handler certificate. However, it just expired. Is that something that I could still list? Because I had to go through the course at one point, or would they probably just be interested in ones that are still active?
Helena, what do you think?
I lost my mute button. So I would say you can put it in parentheses, the dates that it was when you received it and when it expired, because then they can still know that you went through the training, even though it's expired, especially if you're applying for other positions within that industry. It shows that you're familiar, but those certifications, if you were to go out and obtain that on your own, that's A, not free, and B, like it's not cheap. Nobody's going to expect you to go out and fork over the cash to maintain that certification. But I think any employer, so if you were going to go out and apply for, whatever position that's going to require that certification, they're going to pay for you to obtain that. So I would put it on there, just let them know, hey, it just lapsed. It lapsed in, 2021. So let's say it was 2018 to 2021, whatever the dates were. You can put it on there, but I don't see a problem with that.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so for the don'ts, we recommend you don't exceed 2 pages. I think there's definitely some conflicting views on this. I've always heard don't exceed 2 pages. I know if you have like a lot of, it depends kind of in the field that you're in, but generally don't exceed 2 pages. You also don't want to write into like too small of a font, so less than 11. I know sometimes you're trying to cram stuff in, but if people can't read it, they're not going to read it. And then it doesn't matter how much you have on there. Or fancy fonts. I love a nice font that's not Times New Roman, but for these, again, you want it to be legible. We don't need it to be pink and fancy and whatever. So just kind of stick to those traditional fonts. You also don't need to include references in your resume. Those are later in the application process. And also don't share personal info. You don't need to share personal info. That's not relevant. Also, no need to lie or exaggerate or especially use humor. Sometimes Helena mentioned working with students, sometimes, and I've seen it too, sometimes students like to use humor, but we want to keep that out of the resumes. And then we also have on here, don't use graphics, pictures, or logos. Again, I think this kind of depends. We were talking about this earlier. If you are in the field of graphic design, maybe you do need to use that, and demonstrate your skills in that area. But if you're applying for a position in engineering, maybe something more like on the right, just a more traditional, straightforward resume. And then finally, no need to state previous salaries as well. Never required on a resume.
So I'll just touch on the pictures.
Yes, please.
A little bit, and personal info. One of the reasons that I will be completely transparent with you about why you shouldn't share your personal image or personal information. You don't want to give anyone a reason to, and you don't want to give anybody a reason to discriminate against you. And and this is from my experience in human resources. There are so many wonderful employers out there. There are also some not wonderful employers out there. And so by sharing, like, don't give people a reason to take you out of an applicant pool when you're the most qualified person for the position because of a picture. And that's my best advice. And I know that's might be a little pessimistic, and I'm sorry, but that's also sometimes it's a harsh reality. C. Ralston, you have a question?
Yes, so on that same note, I'm applying for a position that has to do with my own self-employed business. Is it better just to attach maybe the business card on to the resume because that would obviously have my logo and everything else, or because you're saying not to put that on, and I mean, I can tell you the job for reference if you need, but it
Your
would go hand in hand.
your contact, so there's a difference between your contact information and sending your portfolio. So your portfolio of the type of, let's say part of your application is to submit samples of the type of work that you've done. That's very different than here's my beautiful, shining, smiling face. You know, that's what we're recommending not to put on your resume. So if you're submitting your resume and application and they're asking for a sample of your portfolio, that's fine. That's very different. And sending your business card, that's fine. That's totally fine. Not
I was just trying to give validity to this particular profession. If you own your own business and you're already in that industry, it basically gives validity to the job that I'm. So that's pretty much it. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's not a problem. Yeah, it's more of like if there was I think some of the logos like don't use, so let's say because I work at Pima Community College, don't use the Pima Community College logo on my resume. And then because I also worked at a number of other universities, keep those logos off the resume. Part of that is it will make your resume needs to look clean because it's much easier to read when it's cleaner without all of those additional logos and images on it, and has that clean formatted text. Resumes always aren't the most exciting things in the world. That's where the text that you provide makes it exciting, and you're selling who you are and the skills that you bring. You don't need to add all of these additional pictures and images unless you're a graphic designer, and then you can make it cool. But again, to Allison's point earlier, most of us aren't graphic designers. That's where we just need to keep logos and pictures off of our resumes. Sound good? It's a good question. Other questions?
Yeah. I think one other thing that's not really on our list, and it sounds so simple, but sometimes I forget it, is just like making sure there's consistency. Like in this example that's listed, like they have the date on the right hand side for all the positions. They list the position name and then under it the organization and the location. So just like making sure that that's consistent and is somewhat like visually appealing. I don't know what the statistic is, but I think it's like the average person will like look at a resume for like 6 seconds or something, and like where their eye is going to go to, like what are the things that are going to stand out. So just, trying to make it, as Helena said, it's not like the most exciting thing, but like as clean and as visually appealing, really, I believe makes a big difference.
I think resumes are exciting, but I look at them every day.
Helena, do you have an example of something that's not on here that you should never do, or something that you've seen that you're like, ooh, don't like that?
Oh, where to begin? The don'ts are pretty good here.
Yeah, okay.
I've seen resumes before that have like I had one that's coming to mind right now where somebody put a skill, or it wasn't it, I can't remember how he listed it. It was that he was in the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest sock slide. While that's funny, that does not speak to this person's skills whatsoever in obtaining a position. So just think about that. I had another person, going back to pictures, this person, literally half their resume was just them standing there holding a puppy. I was like, I mean, that's a really cute puppy, but I don't know what you're good at. But that's a really cute puppy. So think that's what we're really concerned about. Okay, what qualifications are you going to be bringing? Like, what knowledge, skills, and abilities are you going to be bringing to the organization? While puppies are a really great value add, there's that can only go so far. So this, honestly, there's a lot of good information here. I really love, Allison, your suggestion of finding those action verbs and using different action verbs rather than the same action verb. Such a great suggestion.
And Jennifer put in the chat that we have a handout that Renee will send out later.
Cool.
Oh, and Jennifer just put the link to it.
Yeah, so we do have a virtual handout folder. I did share it in the chat.
Very cool.
But since Renee has everybody's email, she sends a follow-up email after the event is over that includes that virtual handout folder. So don't feel like you have, especially if you're on a mobile device or whatever, that you need to go to it right now, because you'll get that link later on. But I know that we've been through the presentation once for those of you that joined us earlier. So I do want to make sure that if you want to move on to a different room, you can just either unmute yourself, let me know where you want to go, or put in the chat where you want to move to. You're welcome to stay with us again, but we'll be going through the same information. I know, Megan, you just joined us, so don't feel like, you aren't going to get the information, because we're going to start again. But we do have a cover letter room, we have an interview room, and then we have a room that talks about the career resources that are available to you as a Pima student. And guess what? Those resources are all free. Take advantage of them, because once you leave Pima, you don't get those things for free anymore. So I will go ahead and move you over to interviews.